to this month's Tahoe Talks. Tahoe Talks is an ongoing monthly-ish brown bag lunch series where we bring interesting topics to the community, and really it's about having a discussion. So a lot of today we're going to be hearing from our panel of experts, but it's also about our ideas, the community, so discussion, questions, and answers. If you have an idea on how you want to contribute to the quote-unquote new Tahoe economy, definitely bring that up. Let's have a discussion. Let's make this interactive. Let's all learn something and take something away from today. My name is Devin Middlebrook. I work for the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency. We put this event series on with a number of our partners, including the City of South Lake Tahoe, the League to Save Lake Tahoe, One South Shore, the Community Mobility Group. There's a bunch of people that help, and this is definitely a group effort to bring your ideas. And if you have any ideas for future topics you want to see, you'd be interested in, you think you could lend some expertise as a panelist or speaker on, definitely let me know. We're looking at our spring summer schedule right now, so if you've got an idea, let us know. I'm happy to put something together. But without further ado, I'd like to introduce today's panelists. First is Rachel Arst McCullough, who owns McCullough Web Services, a Truckee-based web design agency. She plays an active role in several community organizations and co-leads Tahoe Silicon Mountain, which is a Truckee-based networking group. After many hours of running optimization algorithms on a supercomputer, Rachel earned an MS in environmental engineering and wrote her master's thesis on groundwater remediation. If she isn't behind a computer, you'll find her on her yoga mat, hiking, trail running, teaching adaptive ski lessons at North Star, or leading plant identification workshops for the Truckee River Watershed Council. So, that's a lot you're doing. Next up is Chris McNamara. Chris has climbed El Capitan over 80 times, holds 9 big wall speed climbing records, and was the first wingsuit base jump into the Grand Canyon. Outside Magazine has called Chris one of the world's finest ape climbers. He's the winner of a Bates Award for the American Alpine Club and founder of the American Safe Climbing Association. Chris is also the founder and lead author of 16 books for rock climbing guidebook publisher Super Topo. In 2010, he started Outdoor Gear Lab, which has since become the most popular and highly regarded outdoor gear review website. This led to the creation of Tech Gear Lab, a technology review site that was recently launched, so everyone go check it out, Tech Gear Lab. And Chris is also working to create a downtown Tahoe, a bikeable trail around the lake, tentatively called the Lake Trail. We're looking forward to that. And our final panelist is Dr. Jamie Orr. She is an entrepreneur, physicist, and educator with expertise across a wide range of technical fields. She is a co-founder of the Mountain Lab, South Lake Tahoe's first co-working space and innovation hub, and provides workforce development expertise for the California community colleges. As a regional director for the energy, construction, and utility sectors, which includes one of the coolest job titles out there, and I agree, Deputy Sector Navigator. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Rachel to start our discussion.
Hey, can I stand this out here with the
Yeah.
camera? Awesome. So today I'm going to talk about Tahoe Silicon Mountain and also about how we can grow our tech community. So first off, what are we? We're actually in Truckee. We're a monthly networking group, and we have a speaker every month. And our topics tend to be related to the intersection of tech with community, education, environment, or entrepreneurship. We sometimes deviate a little bit, but those are our main themes. And now I'll go over why people come, what people get out of it. So the first thing is inspiring speakers. So you guys noticed that Jamie right there. So earlier in the year, Jamie came out and talked to us about NASA and Mars. Really great presentation. People come to learn something new. So when we were organizing this topic, which was why statisticians avoid the express lane, like at the grocery store. It's a presentation about statistics. And so we were thinking, well, is anyone going to show up? And this was huge. People loved it. People came to a presentation about statistics. and to talk about something other than snow. The trees at North Star are really good. But we know winter or summer, all conversations tend to lead to snow and what the weather's doing. So something besides that. And people come, of course, to just connect in person and build community. We have a ton of people up in Truckee, North Tahoe that they work at home and they maybe don't get to see people on a regular basis. So coming out and talking to like-minded people is important. A little bit more of the details about us. I think I already said we meet monthly. We've been going for actually 6 years now or more, so we started in April 2010. Very small when we started, but now typically we have somewhere between 40 and 70 people coming to each meeting. We live stream everything on YouTube, and we've had some really popular videos, like Jamie's video has more than 600 views on it. And same with the statistics video as well. Those are like some of our top couple. And then we're in Truckee and Tahoe's honor up at Pizza on the Hill. So this is what it looked like in the early days. I know it was, maybe a little small and not super exciting. And also cell phone cameras weren't so great then, so we've got a fuzzy picture. But we had 6 to 15 people. It was generally the same kind of crew that was coming each month. And then we've slowly grown the group over time, and today this is more what it looks like. And the standing room only, of course, got uncomfortable, so we recently remedied that. Since we've been live streaming, we're now able to live stream the event to a separate room down the hall. Super cozy with big chairs, and people can kind of relax there. People can bring their kids, and the kids can be running in and out of the game room and not interrupting the speaker. So everyone does get to sit. This is, I like this picture. So I just came up to these folks and say, hey, pose for a picture, and it's just a perfect example of the diverse group we have. So on the left side is Craig Rose, and he's a teacher at Truckee High. Next is Robert Hallowell, and he actually helps us with some of the setup for the event, and he's a web developer at Clear Capital. We have our speaker for that night, Gunnar Newquist, and he talked to us about artificial intelligence. And then we have 3 students from Truckee High come to the event, and we regularly have students coming. And so there could have been, a massage therapist in this picture, a real estate agent, in addition to the people that you would expect that come to tech events, like programmers and the like. So it's a really diverse group. So I'll go through just a couple of the recent topics to give you an idea. I mentioned this one a little bit, but using artificial, or improving artificial intelligence by studying the brain. People were really interested. This one was about how to put on a Kickstarter. So there was a woman I know from Reno. She's a new business owner, never put on a Kickstarter, but she went ahead and did all this and was able to get funding successfully for her business. So she could go to a trade show, which was really important in her industry. So she came and walked us all through it. So for someone who's never done it or had experience, she gave a really good overview of how to get it done and do it right. This was some time ago, but the sharing economy before Airbnb and Uber were getting super big. We had a great discussion led by Ashley Jennings. And she did a little presentation, but then she broke us down into groups and had us talk about the pros and cons and certain things, and then came back to present to the group. So sometimes we have more interactive discussions. This is our leadership team. So Johannes Ziegler, he actually founded the group 6 years ago. He owns Mia Plaza, and they develop games, educational games for kids. There's me, you heard about me. But my role with Tahoe Silicon Mountain is doing all the marketing promotion and kind of the behind-the-scenes leadership. Dick Schulte, he's with the law firm Holland & Hart, and he has been absolutely crucial to helping us get us set up as a legal entity and make sure all our papers are straight. And then Garrett McCullough, and he's over here in the corner. So he is with Bill.com, and they're based in Chico, so he works remotely up in Truckee, and he's the speaker coordinator. So if you have something that you'd like to speak about, go talk to Garrett or have an idea. And then, of course, we could not do all of this without our sponsors. And we have maybe a more unique setup for how the sponsorship works for our networking group. So I feel pretty strongly that our event should be accessible and affordable for everyone. So what we do is, if you want to come and have pizza and salad for dinner, it's just $5. You could also come and not pay anything if you don't want to eat, or you could get a $5 or however many dollar donation. So our sponsorship funds go towards that, and also helping with the live streaming. And so you can see our sponsors here. I should mention New Leaders and Clear Capital have been with us almost from the very beginning, which is really cool. And then Helen and Bart, not only all their help in our legal paperwork, but also on an ongoing basis. So we also have the Chamber, Tahoe Turkey TV, they help with our live streaming, and Use Pay helps with our credit card processing. And then Tahoe Donner, Pizza on the Hill, so that's our venue. And of course, we are always looking for more sponsors. I'll show this slide again at the end, if you don't have time to write it down. But this is our next meeting, so it's happening actually next Monday, November 14th. And we'll be live streaming it like all of our events. And Carrie Thompson, who runs a competitive robotics team down in Reno, is going to come talk to us about how she set it up, the challenges. So for instance, all of the students on her team, they compete and participate completely for free. So getting the funding wasn't easy. And then she'll also talk, and the students will talk as well about their experience and what they learned from being part of the team besides robotics. So these kids get to learn life skills like marketing, public speaking, things like that. And so right now up in Truckee, North Tahoe, we actually do have robotics teams, but they're all at the middle school level and lower. And having a high school team, while it sounds like, oh, just like have kids of an older age participate, it's a whole nother world. So we'll have people from Truckee who are organizing these teams for younger kids there, and so we can have a whole discussion about how we can have this really valuable program in Truckee, I hope at some point in the future. I'll move on to what Tahoe needs to become a tech hub. And this isn't necessarily what I think Tahoe needs, but I've talked to a lot of people in the community, and this is kind of a consensus of at least some of the things and how things should play out. First one, I don't know, maybe the biggest one is just a critical mass. And this is like the chicken and egg thing. So we need more companies to attract more talent. But talent, people are hesitant to come if they only see, like I have a tech job opportunity at 3 different companies. So how do you envision your career when you see that there are 3 options? People are no longer working for one company for the rest of their lives. So chicken and egg there, for sure. Better internet. This has been a topic for a long time, and then of course I had to change out the slide of my presentation when just weeks ago the Sierra Sun came out with this front page. This is just very recent. And we do have reliable internet in some places, in Truckee especially, close to town. I have it at my house. But you go down 89 towards Squaw, or even further down the West Shore, Donner Summit, and you might not have internet. You might have something so slow that you couldn't watch a video or something like that. So it needs to be more widespread, and everyone needs to have access. Of course, better access to capital. We are lucky to have San Francisco in driving distance, and that certainly gives us an advantage over some other mountain towns, but we still do need to have more local opportunities, local based, not having to go outside always. schools are definitely another big thing. So we do have more and growing options up in Turkey and North Tahoe, and I think the reputation for those schools hasn't really caught up with what we have available, so things are maybe a little better than people might initially think. We also have Reno, which is close by, and people definitely drive their kids to school in Reno, so not an ideal option, but an option. So I think a couple things, we do need more and better options, and then we need to somehow show people all of the options that we do have to change that reputation. Oh yeah, and just a great note, just yesterday, someone from the Tahoe Expeditionary Academy, they are a private school, they're based at the lake now, they're building, expanding, they're gonna have a whole new campus in Truckee. And so they just contacted me and said, how can we form a partnership to do some kind of coding program and get kids more involved in tech? So those are the things I love about what's growing and changing. And then we need to make sure that kids can see themselves, if they've gone to school here, staying in the community and seeing what people do in our community. And so this is really great. Jordan Papaleo, so he helps run Tahoe JS, decided he wanted to put on an event to teach kids how to program. And this is what he came up with. These balls are called Spiros, and they're super cool. He had them out last week at the STEAM fair that we had up at Truckee High, and basically the kids love these things. You can use them actually kind of like an RC car and use a smartphone to control it, and these things are just like rolling all around the event. They're like shining green or red. Showing kids that, you know, if you think this is fun, this is a potential job for you, and this is a job you can do here locally. Year-round jobs. I don't know if I have too much to say about that. I think we all get it. Year-round jobs usually come with year-round benefits. When I first moved here, I certainly didn't have a year-round job. That's me teaching an adaptive ski lesson at North Star. I couldn't give it up. I still do it on weekends. Having physical space is really important, places for people to gather and share ideas. You know, Tahoe Silicon Mountain is great, but it's a monthly event. People need to have more contact than that, and so we've made a ton of progress. The biggest thing is the Truckee Roundhouse is opening, the grand opening is December 1st. And the Roundhouse is the very first makerspace up in Truckee. It's out by the airport. It's been a couple years in the making. A really great crew organized, put it together, found the space, and I think it's huge for our community. We also have a couple co-working spaces that have come on the scene in the past few years. This one happens to be a picture of the lift, and they're also out by the airport, which, by the way, the airport is where the internet is. It's fast, so you can see why things are happening in that area. And those are great. And Eric Brown, who started the lift, actually saw it as a space that could be a real tech hub. And he said, oh, top of Silicon Mountain, you guys will be there, you'll meet there. And it's a great idea, but the space is too small for us. We don't fit in there. Housing, and I know there's been a ton of talk about housing, and especially low-income housing, but and then moving ahead. So I think the biggest thing is, and I feel pretty strongly about this, we live in smaller communities. And I think when you're in a bigger city, you kind of think like, oh, this is kind of what's happening and I'm going along with it. But living in small towns, we can actually individually affect change in our communities. And I'm certainly interested in doing more of that up in Turkey. And so actually Jamie and Garrett and I are all going to be attending. Oh, you're going too. Hi, Chris. To the Mountain Adventure Summit. I think the subtitle is The Future of Work. And it's a whole bunch of people from ski resort towns getting together to talk about how to grow tech communities. I think it's going to be super valuable. We'll all learn a ton from each other. and then really get ideas on how to more specifically move forward. Like, there's definitely not a shortage of ideas, but I think we need to figure out exactly how to implement them, what to implement first, and which ways to implement them, and see what's worked for other people.
When and where is that?
It is in Telluride, and it is in February 2nd through 4th. And I believe it's sold out. Yeah. Ignore that. I guess Bitly, if you don't pay them, they take away customized links. So I just said that this morning, it doesn't work. So I have my contact information here, and then also if you want to just have a look at our next event, and then you can also catch us on YouTube for the live stream. That's all I have.
So now we'll turn it to Chris, and he's going to talk a little bit about what got him here and his ventures.
Yeah, so I didn't bring slides, but it was pretty cool that it's like half those slides I was like, wait, I want to talk about that. So it's almost like you put us together in a certain order. This is great. So what I thought I'd talk about is basically why I'm here. I always came to Tahoe to adventure. Never thought I could live here because of one of the slides, the community. I didn't think the community was here. I thought this was going to be kind of just a adventure capital, someplace you go on the weekends. And so in 2000, I came up here and tried living for a little bit. I wrote a climbing guidebook, but the path started leading to wanting to hire people and maybe have more full-time people. And anyone who's from the Bay Area or has been following what's going on in the Bay Area, it's just really hard and expensive, maybe the most expensive place in the world. And so the thought was, well, what if you could come to Tahoe, and what if you could find the people through, social media, through job postings, and what if they would just want to come here and work? And could you start building companies here? And kind of at the same time, I started following what Tony Hsieh was doing with Zappos, where he sold it to Amazon. Amazon handed him $400 million, and he could have kind of done whatever he wanted. He could have gone and built an industrial park like every other giant company, but he decided to buy downtown Vegas and got super inspired by this book, Triumph of the City, about how you can build communities. And he's like, wait, we can just do this. I'm just going to follow these principles in this book, and we're going to build kind of a downtown area and kind of start reversing the kind of suburban, spread everything out challenge. And I looked at Tahoe and I said, that's kind of, I think, a lot of what the prescription is for around here too. It's an insanely beautiful place that's just been built in a very spread out way that just kind of lacks what a lot of the great mountain towns in the world lack, which is the sense of a center, a sense of community. And at the same time, he was never a true developer, but he realized because he has this company, he now has the jobs that can create kind of the center of this new economy. And so what I realized is, on a very small scale, I have the ability to bring all these jobs to Tahoe for my company, the Outdoor Gear Lab company, which does outdoor gear reviews. Tech Gear Lab now does tech gear reviews. And that maybe there can be a model that's created, like what Jamie and David are doing, of being kind of in the Bay Area, looking for places that are both affordable, that people can then be able to create as a base camp for amazing jobs. And so then I got my friend Corey Rich involved. He's now bringing more people here. So this whole idea of, okay, back to community, maybe we can, build the community here. And back to kind of what Tony Hsieh with Zappos and his Vegas thing was so inspired by, is like, well, maybe we can bring the jobs here. And then those two things are kind of the big critical components that are missing. So, so what I've kind of done is put together this 30-year plan, because I think it's been, I think a lot of the frustration that I've sensed around Tahoe is there's been a lot of attempts to do things in a big way real fast that haven't worked, and it's gotten some people feeling like, oh yeah, that won't work, nothing will happen. But I feel like if you start looking at like on a 10-year time frame, and you start getting a lot of other people excited about the momentum and the process of getting there, and you start kind of having these smaller goals, that is way more attainable. So I've been talking with David and Jamie a lot of other people in town who are kind of excited about just kind of the momentum, about bringing more jobs here, about following a lot of the stuff that were in Rachel's slides, and there just being this kind of great opportunity to almost turn around one of the biggest challenges of Tahoe. Is the biggest challenge I think in South Lake is the way it's laid out and a lot of the history of getting things moving. I think at the same time it's created a pretty affordable place, relatively speaking, for businesses here. And I have to give a shout out to Nancy, just because another big component of kind of the Tony Shea vision, other than bringing more year-round jobs to an area, is the education, and then having a long-term ability to have more of the community have education resources. That was kind of another big prescription. So I think that's kind of all I really have to say, because after Jamie speaks, I'd love to just kind of hear everyone's ideas here. I think the topic, you guys are here because you probably also have some questions and some ideas to add in. And one thing that I've just noticed from a lot of the conversations I've had around these topics is I really like just talking about the things that inspire me, where I'm getting my information from to kind of go in the direction I'm going, and hear where other people are as well. I feel like that's the process that often leads to the better discussion on some of these challenging issues than, just you're right, you're wrong, et cetera, et cetera. So, and anyone else who has like kind of, ideas on these topics or resources, I'd love to hear and hear your thoughts. So, turn it over.
So I actually really like to get to go third, because Rachel really laid out a lot of the different factors that are happening on the North Shore, but are exactly the same as what we're looking at on the South Shore. And here you see Chris and also Tahoe Silicon Mountain, and they're actually taking action to create these new things that didn't necessarily exist, not only in Tahoe, but not in a lot of mountain towns. So creating community around something other than snow, and also bringing new jobs and actually having the wherewithal. And Loud is right down the street. We are in what's called a co-working space. So we are a shared office space for small businesses, entrepreneurs, freelancers, some of our local nonprofits. We were able to expand into what used to be the Tahoe Daily Tribune building because this community supported the idea of coming together in this new kind of freelancer, smaller business market in a really collaborative way, that we were able to expand from 1,200 square feet into 11,000. And it's cool because Chris is actually based at our old headquarters on Ski Run, so he actually took over that whole building. So that's still being used too, which is really cool. But the thing that I have been focusing on since I've been here, and I'm almost 3 years in, so I feel like I'm getting there, is really looking at a whole systems approach. So my background is actually in theoretical physics. And so what that did is it trained me to look at systems in a very analytical way. And that doesn't just mean I have to look at little proteins or things like that, but looking at our entire community and how that as an ecosystem can really thrive by connecting all the pieces together. So, when you talk about community, it's not just about creating a tech community, it's also making sure that you have the housing piece, the education piece, because you have to have that pipeline. It's why, I work really hard with Nancy and Natalie here at the college and the foundation. I've taught for many years in the college atmosphere, and I truly believe that we do want students here to have the opportunity to see that they could stay or that they could come back, and that they can see that starting as early as kindergarten. So having those opportunities and connecting all the cool things that are going on in this burgeoning tech hub with the kids, making sure that there's a connection there is really important. Other pieces that are really important is making sure that we're still true to Tahoe. So how do we create a new Tahoe economy that is still Tahoe? So that still is based in a love for the environment, a love for work and balance and play and nature, and making sure that we're taking care of our environment here and the climate here. And so looking at how can these pieces, how can freelancers and some of the startups and some of that tech actually create a stronger economic base so that we can focus on maintaining those important environmental concerns and maintaining those important quality of life concerns that we all live here for. And so it really all fits together. And another piece that I think is really starting to emerge that's neat is, Sharpie has now opened the Roundhouse, this makerspace model. And for those of you that are not familiar with the makerspace concept, it really is this amazing nexus for art and for invention and for tech and programming and small business and education. So it's one of those things that really brings all of these pieces together and all this pipeline together. And so kind of looking at that, there's actually going to be, talk to me if you want to, we're going to try to see if we can do the same thing on the South Shore. And what would that look like for the South Shore if we have a makerspace? How can we use that and leverage that to support a really cohesive arts and community culture out here? So, bring that piece in. Because again, it is not just about tech, it's not just about tourism, it's not just about the environment. It's about how do we get all of these different pieces to work together. And so I've been really happy to see the positive response to Talking Mountain Lab, because that was one piece that was really missing, I think. And the fact that we're completely full, I think speaks to the need that was there. So, seeing how readily this community was willing to come together and start working to support each other on these different small business projects and entrepreneurship and nonprofits. I mean, we've got probably 20 nonprofits represented if you look at how many people are on boards and how many people are just in the nonprofits that are in that space, all working together. And so really, the New Tahoe economy needs to be about breaking down all those silos and looking at the entire pipeline and looking at that whole system and what do we want our community to look like as a whole.
Ask all of you something. By a show of hands, how many people in the room right now own a small local Tahoe business? Yes, that's third clapping. How many people are thinking about opening a business or in the process of planning on opening a business, have aspirations to open a business in Tahoe? Everyone should be raising their hands. Good, so I'm glad that the audience and the people that want to do something are here. So without further ado, I'll open it up to any questions you have for the panelists. Norma?
I'm assuming you've looked at the Tahoe Prosperity Plan and has identified those 3 major clusters for development. In light of all the things that we're talking about, adaptive management and climate change, what do you think would be the important steps working with the Tahoe Prosperity Center to get that Alpine Center for Climate Change actually a reality here in Tahoe?
So in terms of like the environmental technology piece. So the 3 environmental clusters, or the environment, there's the recreation and tourism, and that technology, and then also kind of the remote work and IT infrastructure. Those are the 3.
And there's health and
health and wellness. Yes. So in terms of the environmental technology, we have so many amazing agencies here that are already doing a lot of that work, and we also have great connections to university and research centers. So we have the Environmental Research Center up at Sierra Nevada College. One of the biggest struggles that I've seen in my experience with higher education is the kind of commercialization piece. So actually getting the amazing research, the amazing work that's done in the public sector out of it and into the private sector. So I think we really do need to continue to focus and push those partnerships in order to do that. So we need to encourage private businesses and researchers to actually start companies and make sure that around helping researchers and helping agencies take that piece and build a partnership to get it out to the market and really start testing it.
What would you think of putting, I don't know that I understand the makerspace totally, but what would you think about locating it in the new rec center?
So so in a few weeks, I'm going to bring together, basically it's the people that have talked to me about makerspace type stuff. And so it's going to be an open meeting. I will tell you what my personal current vision is, having not had that meeting yet and seeing where other people are at. I think that to have a truly effective makerspace concept on the South Shore, because we are so spread out, and also because we have a pretty decent population considering the Tahoe Basin, I actually envision kind of a hub and spoke model. I think there's a real opportunity to have makerspace components and makerspace curriculum at the schools, both here at the college and in the K-12 system. And so we're going to have representatives from both of those groups. And then also, things like having the downtown ski run, outdoor recreation tech hub, having that kind of facility as well. So I think that would play into really what Chris is trying to do with that. So that really plays into that outdoor tech. And so could we do something there? So you have groups like Tahoe Lab that makes amazing equipment out in Myers. How can we encourage more of that type of maker environment? We also, can have a recreation center. Maybe that's where something would be more focused on arts. The library would be a possibility. A completely brand new space would be more focused on artisans would be a possibility. But there's going to be a lot of components, and I'm really hoping that we can create a really interesting network that makes us a maker community.
So actually, Rich, I have a question for you. With you being in Truckee and sort of always North Shore, South Shore, Truckee have always been very siloed and separated. What do you imagine happening that could sort of break that down and open the lines of communication and idea sharing and information flowing between South Shore through North Shore up to Truckee and then?
Knowing each other for a year or something now. She came up to Tahoe Silicon Mountain to speak. You invited me down here. And so I think, even hearing what Chris is doing and more of Jamie's vision, I think it will just prompt us to work together more, and that the three of us, and really four of us, Garrett too, are all going to Telluride together. I see that as a great kicking off point for all of us to talk even more than we are now. So I think it was before, it just wasn't even an idea in our heads, like, let's reach out to South Shore. We have this thing called the internet. It's really amazing.
Yeah.
And as long as it's not too slow, we can actually talk to each other. But that is really, I usually watch the live stream, and I'll be in the chat room when they have their meetings, because it is easy to drive out.
Jamie's all the time asking questions at our events, and I just talked to David Orr this morning about broadcasting a live stream. They have a TV in the main space there at the Tahoe Mountain Lab, so I think slowly that is actually, it's happening.
Yeah, and the thing that I really thought was always missing was events like this. And then last night there was another event kind of like this at Mountain Lab with people coming together and sharing ideas. And I think until there is kind of a hub, or even if there never is a hub where everyone in Tahoe really comes consistently, we can make use of all these different get-togethers, ideas, and I think that's going to become kind of our virtual downtown. Is just having to make a little more of an effort, but it's very possible. It's actually happening right now.
Put it in the middle of the lake on the map.
Yeah.
March.
I have a question. Chris, you talked about shifting the emphasis out of the Bay Area, it's so expensive there,
Yep.
and trying to develop these businesses, these tech type of businesses here. I think one of the problems in the past is that the income earning opportunities here haven't been here.
Yeah.
And that's a big challenge. How can any of you respond to that?
I mean, I know how important the affordable housing issue is, but there's also this other side of it, which is when you bring a tech job from the Bay Area, the housing is really affordable. So it's this very interesting dynamic where, as a whole, not so affordable. Certain pockets of it are. So there are these kind of huge opportunities, and when we put out the word, come live in Tahoe and have, a long-term job, like the amount of people that want to apply is pretty incredible. And I think that's one thing. Like, someone actually called me an hour before this, and they were like, I have this business in Gardnerville. How do you get people to apply, and where do we find those people? And I'm like, it's not easy, but it's very doable to kind of put out the word. I think there's a lot of people who are hungry to move here. They just need the jobs. And that just as soon as you realize that you can create the jobs here and communicate that, suddenly it all just seems to have worked so far. I mean, we're only 6 months in. But
And do you use social media too?
yes, like we're lucky because we have, I think, 36 million people who came to Arst. Marketed well, when people know that there's opportunities, there's a lot of people who are like, I could live in Tahoe. Instead of commuting an hour and a half a day, I'm going to spend that on a bike or on skis. Like, then I'm going to go work a job that's actually interesting and I can maybe raise a family off of. Like, a lot of people hear that value proposition and they're like, sign me up. So
That hasn't been the case.
yeah,
The case has been, support types of jobs that, are usually minimum wage and
yeah.
you don't get anywhere. That's the problem. You have to leave.
Yeah, and I think for me, it was seeing examples of people do it. And one of the first things I asked David and Jamie is like, why did you give up the Bay Area? And they just kind of had this moment, words in their mouth, but where they had to, they just kind of had to make the leap, and it worked. And I feel like telling that story, there's probably a lot of other people out there who are like thinking about making the leap, but are looking for that example of how it worked out and telling the stories and sharing the experiences life's happening right now.
Yeah, and this really applies to the chicken and egg problem that Rachel was talking about, where you do have to have enough companies that are offering high wage jobs. You also have to have the talent, and so maybe as we are starting, we are going to have to import a lot of that talent, but it's putting those higher wage jobs here and keeping them here, and that means that the residents that are in the community or the students that are coming up the school system are going to see those as opportunities and might be able to also work their way into those positions as well. And so just creating that additional economic base to help us weather some of the shoulder seasons and the drought years and the tough times, hopefully will kind of rising tide raises all ships mentality.
Yeah, well, just to continue with that, so we have, I guess the best way to describe it is a business incubator called Elevated Blue in Incline Village. And so they're trying to hire programmers and other roles like that to come to live in Incline Village from the Bay Area. And so the cost of housing is something that they talk about when trying to get people to come up here. But the other thing is, since they're in Nevada, and you guys have that here too, is they sell people on the tax savings, and that they'll actually be making the same or more money living and working up here than in the Bay Area. And that's a huge selling point, since the housing costs and everything are really skyrocketing in the Bay Area. So there are a lot of selling points. I think we just need to get it out there more.
Thank you. I was attending a higher education summit last week that was talking about work-based learning and 21st century skills and the gig economy. And the aspect of contingent economy came up, where work is based on the contingency of projects. And for me, it was a big aha moment, seeing that our local economy, being in tourism, greatly is that contingency economy. With those.
Well, I mean, certainly for us, we're in a unique position because we have an outdoor gear testing company, and now we're pretty much the outdoor paradise for doing that. And so we feel like it's the perfect opportunity. We have a number of employees, but then we have a number of people who have all sorts of skills, who are in this community that we find different little, different projects for, and then those projects can grow. And so for us, I guess that's to answer your question, like, we just need to get that story out more, because I think other businesses will realize that it's not just about attracting talent for full-time positions, but in communities, Tahoe isn't totally unique, but it is unique in how many people have some free time that they can carve off and maybe have some specialty that they haven't been able to really use here. And we're finding that more and more. All sorts of people have this job, but they also have these skills that they haven't been able to use. And the more we put out the word about that, the more they kind of come out of the woodwork, and it's kind of this cool collaboration.
Yeah, one thing we're seeing at the Mountain Lab is just having so many different people, and a lot of which are project-based freelance workers,
But having so many people kind of just cycling around each other, they end up giving each other projects, and so that ends up filling a lot of gaps and kind of helping people cobble things together a little more easily. And so I think just creating pipelines, whether they're actual physical, like what we have there, or virtual, like we're talking about like a virtual downtown, getting that word out, getting that kind of marketplace up and running more as a Tahoe-based marketplace, I think is going to really help with that.
So that would be, when we talk about the makerspace, is there a business model that you have in mind, or is it, like you said, kind of a free-for-all? I'm just unclear. You have creative people paying you, or I'm just not clear how the money flows. So can you explain it? Or do people get any support? Is there any stipending or support for the artisans, or is everyone carving out their own?
There's a number of existing models for makerspaces kind of around the country. Some of them are very similar to what we do at Tahoe Mountain Lab, where all of the equipment and the studio space is made available, and then artisans or makers pay to use it. You get trained in the wood shop, you just buy time. So you save money by not having to have that equipment in your garage kind of model. There's other more cooperative-based models where everybody's an owner. So it's one of those things. For South Lake Tahoe, absolutely nothing is set. I mean,
there's no substitute for the creative community. There's like, if you go in as an artist, like say I wanted to market my dog sweater, and I'm like, well, I just need X number of thousands to, correctly cut the pattern, do a few prototypes, and see if there's a market. I would be completely on my own. You wouldn't have any. I'm just saying.
So like I said, it doesn't exist yet. So
this is all just kind of a
it's more that there's a lot of people, there's a lot of artisans that are doing work around this community and they do need support, and they do need to be brought together. And so there is now it feels like the timing is right to start bringing those people together to see what is going to be the best platform.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so competitive with everything being made, for what do they get, $1 an hour in Bangladesh? No offense to anyone who's from Bangladesh, but anyone who's creating something has very, stiff competition. So it'd be interesting to see if the mountain community can respond to that. Yeah. We'd love to.
More questions? So I've got a question for you yesterday, and really our big push towards building a recreation economy. How do you see the future of recreation Tahoe being shaped?
So I had a bit of a moment of vision. I was actually sober. It was 2 months ago. I was looking out on Tahoe and just thinking, this is kind of amazing, and it's amazing that we're a casino economy, that we're this epic, insanely beautiful place, and that's been the center of things. And so I've been trying to kind of think through, why isn't this more of a mountain biking destination? Why isn't this more of all sorts of hiking destinations? Why do so many people who come here not come here for the reason that you can see out this window? And I've been posing this question to a lot of people, and I think the answer to some extent has just been kind of marketing, word of mouth, chicken or the egg, kind of getting enough people realizing the opportunities that are here. And so, that's kind of one of my, 10, 20-year goals would be to have more trails. Tamba right now is creating amazing projects, and there's all this history, and there's all this talk about how things used to be in Tahoe. This is one area where it's pretty exciting, where the Forest Service has never been more supportive of building trails. There's never been a better group of volunteers that has been more organized for responding to that. And so there's just all these opportunities, and I would just love to see there be a bikeable trail around the lake. There's all these opportunities like that. And I actually kind of wrote these out, and I'm happy to share it with anyone who's interested.
So with regard to the outdoor opportunities that are here, and you talked about your time in 2000, and it just wasn't really happening for trails being redeveloped, to those decisions and the change in the demographics of the community. And then the second part of my question is how can we grow the understanding of the return on investment for business owners such as yourself to invest in our outdoor recreation opportunities? Because the the Forest Service doesn't get enough money alone to take care of it all. So we all own it. It's all ours. How do we do that?
Yeah, I mean, it's for me, the thing that was so exciting hearing about TAMBA and the Forest Service relationship was just how far money goes and how easy it is to actually create these trails. It went from a year ago not realizing how trails are even built to now meeting people and seeing it happen and being part of it and realizing it actually doesn't take that much money relative to what so many other things cost. I mean, I don't know exact numbers, but on the Stinger Trail, it was in the tens of thousands of dollars. It was the amount of money that everyone here probably, if they pulled together and spent 10 hours trying to fundraise, could probably find some way to do it. And suddenly we have a new trail. So it was, again, that kind of marketing thing of being able to spread the word about how there's these incredible opportunities, and that for me, that's just what got me so excited. Like, what can I do with my free time, and if I want to donate money to my community, where can I see it go a long ways? And I think right now there's just so many queued up amazing ways to see that happen, through the makerspace, through all these other things. It's like there's ways to be involved now that have just, I think are just really amazing on their kind of return on investment, not just from the amount of money you're getting back, but the amount of kind of growth that you can see in the economy. And for me, that was the reason to come back here after 2000. It was realizing it wasn't going to happen overnight. Tahoe kind of become more of a community, but it was going to be a process that's happening now and that I can be a part of, and that it's just going to be fun to be a part of. It's fun to be here right now. It was fun to be there last night with everyone coming together on various, talking about other issues around Tahoe. It's just kind of an exciting thing to be a part of. Whereas in a lot of other places, like say the Bay Area, I love the Bay Area, but there doesn't feel like there's as many opportunities to actually make a difference and to be a part of something exciting.
So Rachel, I know we've talked a lot about, and every one of you has mentioned sort of the community and culture around the change and how that's shifting things. And I know in the last decade, even 6 years, Truckee has really made this monumental shift in their culture, and Truckee is really this completely new community. And you being in Truckee, what sort of was that underswell that made that change happen, and how has that culture shifted? What was the sort of driving force behind that?
That's a good question. I'm not, I guess I can't say like what was the driving force behind it. It's like sometimes you have an idea and the time just isn't right, or all the right people just aren't there or all together. And I think some of it's related to us just being able to use like social media to talk to each other more. There's always been people working remotely in Truckee for years and years, but none of them ever knew each other. We can involve in this process of change.
I would offer one example of how that happened. It's called Moonshine Inc. So that brought a lot of people in the community together through a common medium that celebrated art and people's ability to contribute to their community in a more educational way. So I think that had a lot to do with it.
Chris, as you've been testing the gear for these companies, mountaineering companies, has there been any discussions about having those companies relocate in Tahoe?
A lot of people have approached me and said, why don't you just go bring other companies here? And I go, okay, sure, how do I do it? One thought is to go to the trade show and talk to more of them. And I actually had this conversation with one of the city council members, Austin Sass, 2 weeks ago, and David. And I think what we need to do, it was me and Corey Rich, he's going to bring 10 kind of photo production creatives to Ski Run in the next 6 months. And the thought was, we just have to go talk to these companies and actually figure out, is it just that they're not hearing our story, or are there parts that we're missing that we're not aware of? Because from my perspective, it's like, why wouldn't everyone move here?
Right.
I just need to tell the story better.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it's not that simple, and I just need to to listen to people and listen to maybe some of the people in this room about what the challenges of starting small businesses are in Tahoe.
That's actually a great question. Does someone in the room that is in the process of starting a small business, owns a small business in town, what are your challenges?
Yeah, I work for a big company in town, but I also am a small part of a small company. And my family has a digital media company that makes national brand commercials, Expedia, Secret, Antiperspirant. They made a commercial for Rock Skincare recently. And one of the partners lives here, and one lives in Los Angeles, and it's the talent issue that comes up over and over for them. They've made commercials here. They've made a feature film in Tahoe. But I will tell you that none of the talent, not the cinematographer, not the digital tech, not the lighting grips, not the actors and actresses, none of them were from here because the talent was not deep enough to have a reliable source of talent to make digital media here in town. So they brought everybody from LA to here, and they've done it more than once. So it's the talent that's the challenge, and it is that chicken and egg type of thing. And kind of on the other side of the scale, they talk about casino economies, and our company, for one, knows that the casino economy is not sustainable. And so you have to plan for that future. You have to. We own 2 casinos. Lots of fun for us, and as those leases come up over the next 30 and 40 years, and we know it's not sustainable. So we have to make plans to do other things, to look at outdoor recreation and connection to the lake and to the environment and why people come here, and it's not for gaming anymore. So, but that presents a big challenge because there are big buildings there that are worth tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars that you have stuck there, and they're stuck because of regulation. They're stuck because of commodities markets, scarce accommodation units, and commercial floor area, and all these sticky things that get in the way of changing them to something better. So there's a lot to do with how this economy could evolve more recreation-based and complementary to things that, say, Chris is doing and Jamie's doing, that there's a big roadblock sitting there, and it's mired in regulation and economics, and it's really, really hard to overcome. And until we get the regulatory side changed to allow reinvention of all those spaces, it's going to be tough to accomplish some of the things. So I'd start on the regulation. I'd attack the regulation side as well.
And I'll just say that as we're trying to do more and more stuff on Ski Run, we're starting to realize there's always these roadblocks. It's the commodities, it's whatever. There's all these things that are challenges, but there's also, and this is I think the message that I've been most excited about, there's maybe not that, once those things get worked out, there's going to be bigger changes that can happen faster, but there's a lot of little changes that can happen right now. And I think, a great example is Mountain Lab. It's taking this older building that was not doing so great, that had an uncertain future. Now you walk in there and you're like, wow, this place is amazing. And it was through figuring out that, building that building from scratch would have been a whole different thing. But finding those opportunities where they are, like, okay, we can rehab this a little, that will allow us to get through that hurdle. We can do something there. And then my hope is just with a 2-year vision, it's kind of bleak, but with like a 10-year vision, it's like, well, if this builds on that and that builds on that, and then things just start. Hopefully, that's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, I mean, this all ties back into what I was talking about in terms of breaking down silos and looking at kind of that whole picture is, this is going to take public and private partnerships working to address the regulatory issues. These need to be looked at together, and every single one of us needs to be looking at all of these issues together instead of focusing on one at a time.
And we own a piece of property on Ski Run between Tamarack and Spruce, and it's not something that we really know what to do with. So
Chris might have an
idea. Such a productive meeting.
I'd like to build on the comment about the commodities too, because it's talking about the makerspace. I'd be interested to see what TRPA does with that makerspace. If it's a not-for-profit corporation, as I understand it, you don't have any need for CFA, none of those things. But if you create it as a for-profit entity, then you get all these roadblocks again about CFA and hard coverage and all those things that Truckee doesn't have to deal with. And that's why theirs is up and running now and ours is not, probably.
And as an agency, TRPA right now with a wide variety of stakeholders, we're examining the commodity system. We're looking at why it was this system created in the 70s and 80s to stop rampant development that was going like the Keys and other places that are just going haphazardly and slow that down. But now we have a system and an economy, and we're in a time where we want to spark environmental redevelopment, yet we have a system that was designed to stop development. So how do we change that around, but like Jamie said, keeping the core principles of that, protecting the environment. If this lake was ruined, it wouldn't be much of an outdoor paradise to test gear, to test gear. And so it's complicated, and that's something that I think the community can do, is get involved and speak up and let us know, hey, these are our concerns, this is the vision we have for this community. How can we create a system along with the local agencies and jurisdictions to make that a reality? Any
Just
other?
to compare a little bit, they've done something really like you're talking about in Reno. So, of course, bigger example, we can't one-for-one just take what's going on in Reno and bring it here. But they are actively recruiting the companies that they want to have to Reno. And it's like, I would just, of course, the data and all the tax advantages, but I think that something like this, once everything's in place and we can actually find buildings to put people in and give the talent, it's easier sell to say, okay, well, here's the package and like here's how it's actually going to work. If you come here, and here's how we can help you move here.
If no one's going to come to a party, they're not invited.
I like that. Any other questions?
Is there any kind of a contact group for makerspace in South Lake Tahoe?
Me.
Currently?
Yeah.
I just kind of had a comment about the talent pool, and I think we need to expand how we're looking at it. I feel like we have a lot of talent that's underutilized. There's a lot of people who are in really low-paying jobs that are very highly educated and have other experiences. So I think we need to think about how we can connect those people with the business owners and how we can kind of compile that talent pool that is there and connect to people. So I think Mountain Lab is a great example of how that's starting to like open these things, and the makerspace, it's not just, current businesses that are existing that are going to be working there, but how we're connecting people in the community. So I think we need to be a little bit more creative about how we can use existing talent pool.
Does anyone know of a tool that anyone uses in town that does connect people that are looking for talent with people in town that may have talent that they don't know is in demand?
We have this really cool group called Hack Tahoe. We can build it.
I mean, I felt like, so our business almost does zero social media to actually drive our business. But what we found is social media is the best way for us to find people. And I know that we all stare at our screens too much, but this is actually something where staring at the screen for social media has been a great way for me to hear about what's happening at Mountain Lab, for me to post jobs and to find the talents that are in the community. So that's just one thing that I've noticed is that there's so much on social media that's just distracting. There's also an opportunity to tell a cool story and to share it, and I've seen that when it's used kind of just strategically really work.
Tahoe Regional Young Professionals is also a great resource for networking with that group of people. And
So remember to take advantage of what government agencies can do in terms of helping develop talent, find talent, and identify gaps that you have as you're starting to, it's that chicken and the egg kind of thing, right? So you're starting to attract a certain kind of industry into the Tahoe area that demands a certain kind of talent. Where is that talent? But you have, and El Dorado County and is part of this JPA called the Golden Sierra Job Agency. And in that, they have all kinds of resources. That's where Job One gets its funding. And so you can work with places like Job One to say, hey, we are looking for that. And for those of you who are starting new businesses that are having to deal with personnel issues, what is, building a workforce environment that is productive, and you really don't have the money to have a personnel manager. You have people in these organizations that can help you with interviewing and that kind of thing. So I would ask any of you who's starting a new business, or if we're even looking at this in a big perspective, to start reaching to our government partners to look at tapping those resources, because they get money specifically to help in those issues, help with those issues. So, and Job One is one, we have a Job One up here, and there's a way to connect it through, and you can make things happen, and those kinds of things. But the talent gap is a huge problem. Move the economy forward, to redefine the economy, moving it from the casino base to a recreational base, or even what I think is great opportunities in environmental innovation. It's just a tremendous opportunity, but people have to get together, try to connect these dots, and look at the resources we have and take advantage of those.
Any last
Well,
question?
I just have a last question for Jamie. Now that you guys are full, are you planning any kind of expansion or something to like allow satellite offices? Like it seems like there's obviously a demand.
Well, we have one satellite office opening, and that's at Lake Tahoe, Heavenly. So yeah, we are opening. We're focused right now on that next project. So we are partnered with Vail and Heavenly Mountain Resort to offer an on mountain, and this is actually first in the world to be on a ski resort. And so that's more of a drop-in kind of system, so that people can go up an hourly and make sure they're getting a good powder without having to miss that conference call. So it's also selfishly for us, because I want to be able to do that.
How's the internet up there?
We're going to be good. We're going to be just fine. Yeah. But I think that I think expanding this model into, I keep saying the makerspace model, expanding, we've talked to a lot of the nonprofits in the region about expanding something very much like what Parasol has an Incline, but a South Shore version for nonprofits to do kind of a shared space for the arts community to do kind of collaborative space. So I think there are more opportunities for this type of model in the region, and yeah, we'll probably start looking at some satellite offices. Nothing official.
So for sort of closing remarks, I'd love if each one of you could give sort of the audience and everyone here one sort of call to action or homework assignment. What you think, like one easy, simple thing that everyone could go home this week and next week and do to sort of start working towards these big visions that we talked about today. Sure.
I mean, for me, it's just look for opportunities to come together more often. It can often be a lot easier to not, to just kind of stay in a routine. And I found that every time that I went out of that and looked for people, especially in this community, I was always surprised by the interesting, cool people I met.
I would say, I guess my big thing that I touched on a little bit already is that since we are in a small community here, actually know and believe that you can make the change. Like you yourself personally can have an effect. That doesn't mean you're going to do it alone by any means. So go out and talk and find another person who shares your vision and find out how that plays with what's already going on and make the change.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank our speakers very much for joining us.